For this small little OTK combo you can do with the Ancient Gear deck, you'll need at least one Gear Town in your hand, Catapult in your hand, and any two Kaijus of your preference. But if you don't have Kaijus, you could also use one Nibiru. But since we're not going to use Nibiru in this combo because this is a bit of a, I guess, affordable affordable engine, since Nibiru is probably still high up in that price range. So yeah, that's why we're using Kaijus to get rid of our opponent's monsters and go from there. To start off the combo, you'd want to activate your Gear Town and then activate your Catapult as long as you control no monsters on your side of the field. Then pop your Gear Town, and then when it is destroyed and sent to the grave, you can special summon any Gear monster from your hand, deck, or grave. Hopefully you can all read that. Okay, let's move on. We're going to go for our Wyvern to activate its effect when it's normal summoned or special summoned, allowing us to add from our deck to our hand an Ancient Gear monster. And then the reason why it's bugged is so we can also use its useful effect, that being if it's added from the deck to the or grave to the hand except by drawing it, you can add an earth monster from earth type monster with 500 attack or defense or defense from your deck to your hand except itself. So make sure, there we go, in our hand. We're going to add our frame, and frame's effect, we're only going to utilize the first one. Discard a card and Ancient Gear Golem or spell a chart that specifically lists Ancient Gear Golem in its text from your deck to your hand. Catapult's effect will also trigger, allowing us to get our Golem to our side of the field. And now since we did normal summon, we're going to utilize your normal summon for frame, thus activating its effects by discarding box, adding our Gear Fusion from our Ancient Gear Fusion from our deck to our hand. We're going to use frame and Wyvern for a link summon of our beloved Ancient Gear Ballistica, which does require 2 Earth Machines. If this card is link summoned, you can add an Ancient Gear monster or Gear Town from your deck to your hand. Then you can target and if you want, you can target a Spoiler Trap you control and a face-up monster your opponent controls. Destroy that card you control, and if you do, the monster that your opponent controls that you targeted with this effect, attack and defense become 0. So first off, add our Gear Town, activate Gear Town since it's not a once per turn, and then this is where the Kaijus come in. Relatively, you'd want to give them any Kaiju, so I will give them the Mad Flame Kaiju, put you up there. And because personal preference, I personally enjoy the Star Destroying Kaiju, so we'll put him... Oh, I just realized that, hold on. Sorry about that. Right there. And then, Ballistica's effect, target a spell trap we control, a monster our opponent controls, destroy this, becomes 0. Ballistica's effect, no, not Ballistica's effect, Gear Town's effect, will bring out our Reactor Dragon, again, just personal preference. And if you remember, we do still have our fusion, but we'll save that for later. So, our beloved Kaiju that we gave our opponent is 0. So, let's relatively attack with our own Kaiju, thus dealing 3,300 attack to our opponent, thus giving us back our Kaiju. And by now, hopefully, your monsters have enough attack to run over whatever your opponent has, assuming they don't have any kind of response to high-level attacks. But, worst comes to worst, you also still have your Ancient Gear Fusion, and we do have a Golem on our side of the field. Fusion summon an Ancient Gear Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you control, from your hand or field as material. But if you control an Ancient Gear Golem or Ultimate Pound, you can also use monsters from your deck as material. So, relatively, if we were to activate that and send 2 additional Ultimate Pounds from our deck to our grave, as well as that Golem, we can, since this is Master Roll 5 after all, and we don't need the extra monster zone for Fusion, Synchro, or Xyz, can go for either Ultimate Gear Golem, which does require a Ancient Gear Golem and 2 other Ancient Gear monsters, which we just did. And must be fusion summoned. If this card attacks defensive position, inflicts piercing damage. And if this card attacks your opponent cannot activate spell or traps until the end of the damage step. And if this card is special summoned, if this card is destroyed, you can target one Ancient Gear Golem in your grave, special summon, ignoring each summoning conditions. Or, also, sorry for my horrible talking, you can go for Megaton Golem, which only requires 3 Ancient Gear monsters. If this card attacks, your opponent cannot activate spell or traps until the end of the damage step. And if this card is fusion summoned, using 2 or more Ancient Gear Golem and or Ultimate Pounds as material, this card gains that many attacks during each battle phase. And if this fusion summoned card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can special summon an Ultimate Pound Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So relatively, you don't have to waste your fusion summon on Ultimate Gear Golem if you could just go for this one. That's a lot of rambling, but if you don't want to go for these 2, you could send an additional Ancient Gear monster from your deck to your grave to get out the other boss monster, which is a little harder to get out. Chaos Ancient Gear Giant, which does require 4 Ancient Gear monsters in general. Must be fusion summoned, cannot be special summoned by other ways, unaffected by spell and traps. Your opponent's monsters cannot activate their effects during the battle phase. And if this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. And if this card attacks a defensive position, inflict piercing damage to your opponent. So, if worse comes to worse, your opponent has a problematic monster that may be higher than 3,000 or more, you can use your Ancient Gear Giant to run over that monster and go from there, hopefully going for an easy OTK turn 2 or whatever turn you're on. But with all that rambling, we're done. So, yeah, what did you all think of this combo? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Comment what you thought down below. If there's anything I missed, please comment it down below. Any tips and tricks, so whoever reads the comments can also get a good feel of how to play Ancient Gears a bit more linear and kind of surprise your opponent. But that'll be it. See you all next time.